composed in an Irish saga that had a lot of the same elements as Sir Gawizzle. So that's one of the quotes. The green beans have jumped to the highest order from the salsa. Next slide, please. So, what is this story about? Focus is on a young gangster called Sir Gawizzle and his encounter with the green Skittle. One day, next slide.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh.
Some Skittles for you. So one day, on Christmas Day, the gangsters of the Round Hood were gathered in the hottest hip-hop club in Melbourne. They're accompanied by wenches and maidens of the most righteous beauty. You can click, there should be some more animation.
All right.
Yeah. So there's a wench. This is actually composed.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's good. Yeah, next slide. So, then all of a sudden, the company are interrupted by a green Skittle riding a horse. Click the next one, there should be an animation. Bearing an axe, who challenges the company. He throws some insults at their leader, King Gawizzle. Next slide, please. Calling him a chicken. But the lead King Gawizzle agrees to take his axe and blow this green fool in the head. Next slide. So that's King Gawizzle, by the way. Next slide. Yeah. Next. But then the young gangster, so young Gawizzle takes up the challenge instead. Next slide. So this is where we find ourselves up to date with my passage. Here's a copy of a translation I found online, translated by Righteous Will Smith, and it reads, Gawizzle grips his axe and lifts it, plants his Nike Air Max to the earth firmly, then swings down on the nape of the green Skittle. His piece going through the spinal, splitting this green sucker's head from the flesh. The piece stuck in the earth near his fresh kicks. The green head falls and rolls, and the gangsters kick it as it hovers past. Dank blood runs from the stupid head, but the green Skittle don't fall or fizzle. It's beautiful. So next slide, please, Pierre. So from this passage, it's clear that the Gawain poet gives Gawizzle a sense of physical power and strength. Next slide. So if we look at these delicious lines, Gawizzle grips his axe and lifts it, plants his Nike Air Max to the earth firmly. It is clear that these actions, along with the adverbs used by the poet, are intended to give us the impression that Gawizzle is a dangerous and competent gangster. And indeed, if we look back to previous passages, we get this impression too. Next slide. Oh, I didn't put in the lines anyway. So when the green Skittle comes and challenges the crew, the axe that Gawizzle grips has actually been given to him by the main player, King Gawizzle. This represents a shift of power where Gawizzle becomes the head homie in the group, thereby consolidating our image of him as a dangerous gangster. Now all of these details, both contextual and descriptive, affirm Gawizzle as competent. But, next slide, I think he's just a silly little boy. Why? Next slide. Now, many people, when they read this tale, get too uptight about Sir Gawizzle. They don't look at the language that the poet uses, and the ordinary interpretation is this straightforward chivalric theme, the success of Gawizzle, etc. But there are a lot of ambiguities in this text. Next slide. So the first I'd like to cast your attention to is the use of physical descriptors the poet uses in this passage to describe the gangster Gawizzle and the contrast between these descriptions and the conclusion of this challenge. So Gawizzle takes his axe and severs the dumb green head from the scrumptious pod. But the green Skittle doesn't die. In fact, he picks up his dank green head and starts spitting facts straight up. How are we then to make sense of this conclusion? Especially if the poet appears to set Gawizzle up like a king rat, only to have him suck at killing the green Skittle. Next slide. I'll tell you why. It's because the axe is not our bizzles or Gawizzles, but the green Skittles. Next slide. Oh, anyway, next, sorry. So, the possessive his in this line can be misleading. It shouldn't be mistaken for any piece Gawizzle himself possesses. Even though the axe was given to Arbizzle and then to Gawizzle, it don't belong to either of these gangsters. So the piece which is symbolic of Gawizzle's strength actually belongs to the green Skittles. Now what the crap, what are you talking about? Well, look at the line. It tells us that Gawizzle's power is borrowed, like a library book. Next slide, please. Without the green Skittle's axe, he would be unable to display his strength in this passage. So the question still remains. Has Gawizzle succeeded in doing his duty? Or has he done the green Skittle dirty? Well, under the chivalric code of the Brotherhood, it would seem that he succeeds in giving honour to the green Skittle's deal. However, the descriptions and tone of the poet after the green Skittle's head is blown off do not indicate or focus so much on Gawizzle. Instead, the poet institutes the ambivalent suspension of the action between jest and earnest, which seems to make fun of our man Gawizzle and his lack of strength, which is not enough to kill that green fool. Furthermore, the way the poet interjects with these statements, which deny any satisfaction of the rational or the natural occurrence we would expect, which is the Green Knight's death, are concise and short. Next slide, please. Furthermore, sorry, I just read that. Contrasted with the descriptions of Gawizzle's preparation for the beheading, the fact that the poet seems to spend little effort on describing the green Skittle in this passage reflects that the descriptors used for Gawizzle itself are ineffective and are not unable to combat the effect that he did not fashizzle, quote, thereby imitating the physical reality of events communicated through a literal reading of this fashizzle. We move to the next passage. I think they spin. Oh. Yeah.
Wow.
We therefore say that it is evident that Gawizzle succeeds insofar as he beheads the green Skittle, but is unable to kill him, though death is the obvious natural conclusion of the beheading which we expect. Thank you.